Welcome to Forever Tales, where every story lives on forever. The airfield at Ramstein Air Base was unusually quiet in the early hours of dawn. Fog clung low to the tarmac, glowing under the harsh floodlights. Inside the briefing room, 6 women sat around a table, sipping black coffee from steel mugs. Each wore the crisp olive flight suit of the United States Air Force, patches stitched proudly on their sleeves. Captain Sarah Hawk Reynolds, the aircraft commander, tapped her pen against a folder. She was the kind of leader who carried calmness even in the tensest situations. To her left sat Major Elena Ortiz, the co-pilot, her sharp eyes hidden behind aviator shades even at night. Across from them, Tech Sergeant Dana Miller and Senior Airman Aisha Khan, the loadmasters, whispered about fuel calculations and pallet weight distributions. At the end of the table were flight engineers Lieutenant Naomi Brooks and Sergeant Harper Williams, cross-checking the maintenance logs of their aircraft, the mighty C-17 Globemaster III. The silence broke when the door swung open. A colonel strode in, his face stern, carrying urgency in his voice. "Ladies, we have a situation. The embassy in Amman is on lockdown. Intelligence suggests possible hostile activity in the region. We've been tasked to deliver essential supplies, reinforce security, and be ready for an emergency extraction if needed." The air seemed to thicken. Everyone at the table straightened. Missions like this weren't routine. They were volatile, unpredictable, and dangerous. Reynolds leaned forward, steady but resolute. "What's our departure window?" 40 minutes. "You'll be wheels up at maximum thrust. This mission is critical. We're trusting you with it." No one flinched. This was why they trained, why they endured sleepless nights and endless drills. Still, the reality carried weight. They weren't just flying cargo. They were stepping into a potential flashpoint in the Middle East, where seconds could change lives. Within minutes, they were at the aircraft. The C-17 stood ready, its massive gray body looming like a silent beast under the floodlights. Inside, Miller and Khan secured pallets of medical kits, weapons crates, and emergency food supplies. The thud of cargo locks echoed through the cavernous bay. Brooks crouched under the cockpit console, running final checks, while Ortiz called in the flight plan to the tower. Reynolds climbed into the captain's seat, strapped in, and exhaled slowly. The engines began to roar, 4 turbofan monsters awakening with a thunder that shook the ground. A voice crackled over the headset. "Steel Maiden 1, cleared for immediate departure. Godspeed." The women exchanged brief nods, their expressions steady but carrying unspoken intensity. They were all aware of the risks, but none hesitated. The mission had begun, and this all-female crew was about to write history at full throttle. The C-17 thundered down the runway, its wheels clawing at the earth before lifting the massive body into the sky. Inside the cockpit, the vibration rattled through their bones. But the pilots held steady, pushing the Globemaster into a steep climb. "Gear up," Ortiz commanded, flipping switches as Reynolds adjusted the throttle. "Gear up and locked," Brooks confirmed. The dark German countryside shrank below, giving way to a sea of clouds illuminated by the first hints of dawn. The women settled into their rhythm, every checklist running like second nature, every maneuver as precise as a heartbeat. Hours into the flight, the tension began to thicken. Their route would take them over hostile air corridors, and chatter from the intelligence feed painted a grim picture. Reports hinted at possible missile activity in northern Syria, with militant groups testing new systems. They knew they could become targets at any moment. In the cargo bay, Miller double-checked the straps on the pallets. "Last thing we need is supplies shifting mid-flight," she muttered. Khan, younger but equally sharp, gave her a thumbs up. "We'll be solid. Just don't let the turbulence mess with us." In the cockpit, Ortiz's voice carried through the intercom. "Update, we're rerouting through Jordanian airspace. Expect turbulence, maybe worse. Stay sharp." As they crossed into the Middle East, the calm of the flight vanished. Radar pings began flashing across their screens. The aircraft's defensive warning systems lit up, shrill alarms filling the cockpit. "Missile lock!"
"Starboard side!"
Brooks shouted, her voice cracking through the headset. Reynolds' jaw clenched. "Deploy countermeasures now!" Flares burst from the belly of the C-17, streaking bright fire across the night sky. The aircraft banked hard left, groaning under the stress of its sudden maneuver. The women held their breath, gripping controls and straps, as the heat-seeking threat veered toward the flares and detonated harmlessly in the distance. For a brief moment, the world was nothing but roaring engines, flashing lights and heartbeats pounding like war drums. Then silence, broken only by Ortiz's calm voice. Threat avoided. Reset course, no one cheered. They couldn't. The danger wasn't over. But what they all felt deep down was respect for each other, for the machine they flew, and for the mission they carried on their shoulders. Still, ahead of them lay their destination, Amman, and the real test was yet to come. The desert air was thick with heat and tension as the C-17 descended into Jordan. Below, the lights of Amman flickered like scattered jewels. The runway loomed in the distance, guarded by military convoys and the silent readiness of a city on edge. "Final approach," Reynolds called, her voice steady. Everyone locked in. The Globemaster touched down with a thunderous screech of tires, slowing against the weight of its massive cargo. The moment it stopped, Jordanian and U.S. security teams rushed forward. The back ramp lowered with a hiss, and Miller and Khan went straight to work, guiding pallets out with precision. Each crate was critical: medical kits for wounded civilians, ammunition for the guards, and food for families trapped by unrest. But the mission wasn't over yet. As they unloaded, a radio call cut through the static. Possible embassy evacuation imminent. Stand by for extraction orders. The women didn't blink. The crew had trained for this exact scenario. Within minutes, the bay was clear, and the C-17 roared back to life. Refugees, embassy staff, and injured personnel were guided up the ramp, faces pale but grateful. Children clutched their mothers' hands as they climbed aboard, some too young to understand what was happening. In the cockpit, Ortiz adjusted the weight balance. "We're heavy, but within limits." "We can do this," Reynolds nodded. "Then let's get them out." The engine screamed once more as the aircraft surged down the runway, straining under its human and material load. Outside, the city was tense, the horizon glowing faintly with unrest. But inside the C-17, there was a strange calm, a bond between crew and passengers, a silent trust that they were in the safest hands possible. Hours later, as dawn broke over the Mediterranean, the C-17 soared westward. Behind them, the Middle East burned with uncertainty. But on board, lives had been saved. In the quiet of the cockpit, Ortiz finally allowed herself a small smile. Not bad for a night's work. Miller's voice crackled from the back, weary but proud. "History's gonna remember this one." Reynolds didn't answer immediately. She glanced out at the rising sun, the sky painted in fire and gold. Then softly she spoke. "History doesn't matter. What matters is, they made it out alive." And with that, the all-female crew carried their mission and their passengers safely home, proving that courage knows no gender, only resolve.